Okay, let's nice gentle start, particularly any newer people here. So just standing comfortably, rubbing your hands together, moving your fingers up a little bit, and then lightly tapping over your face. Work up over your head and neck, pads of your fingers or palms of your hands, whatever suits you best. And then down to one shoulder, just aware of the shaking of the muscles, your arm, your fingers, going down the inside of your arm, up the outside, and then the other shoulder. So again, just noting the sensations as you go through the different parts of your body. Bring your hands around to the lower part of your back, one hand or both hands, gently tapping as much of the area as you can reach comfortably. And then working around your hips. And then down the outside of your legs, the inside. Coming up, lighten your belly, finally the upper part of your chest. Shake out. Standing with your feet directly below your hips and toes pointing forward, or maybe just slightly turned out if that's more comfortable for you, but not too far. Weight a little bit forwards and just letting your hips settle back as though you've just been out for a walk and you're just resting on a wall or something, just letting your weight settle down and then bringing your attention to this central part of your body between hips and waist, starting to turn there. The movement build up gradually. Letting your arms follow the movement, just swinging around, gently striking your body around about that area on or just below your navel, at the front and at the back, more or less opposite. You should find that it's a fairly consistent place once your shoulders start to relax. Don't lift your arms. Just imagine you're doing this with heavy weights or shopping bags or something in your arms. Beginning to feel that settling down is a little bit more full. It's what we call in Tai Chi rooting down, gradually letting our centre of gravity, our weight, drop down as though that centre part of your body dropping down between your legs, giving you more stability and releasing some of the weight and some of the tightness from the upper part of your body, so gradually a bit more space for movement beginning to build. It's a useful little exercise, it's a very common warm-up. And at the same time we can just begin to explore a little bit some of the core principles of Tai Chi and Qigong that really apply to all the movements. We can begin to feel a little bit of momentum building, and this is quite useful. When we go slowly, it's more difficult, I think, to identify that, but with a little bit of extra momentum we can begin to feel how the different parts of the body are connected and begin to feel that sense of a movement and energy flowing through them. Just letting your body breathe however it's comfortable. Don't force your breathing at any point. And gradually feeling that the different movements of your body, joints, muscles, circulation and breathing of this underlying flow of energy, just beginning to harmonize into one movement. Turning your hands palm forwards, raise them up just a little bit, bringing them to a comfortable position, no higher than your shoulders, but maybe quite a lot lower. Let your elbows drop down and loosen your fingers so you can feel the muscles in your arms and shoulders just moving, engaged, but not tight and not constricted in their movements. Letting your hands drop down, and then turn one foot out a little bit, step forwards with the other foot, keeping the width of your step. Just gently begin to push yourself forwards and backwards. So it's not a big movement. Be careful not to overextend your knees. Go into about 60% of your weight in the front foot, maybe up to 70 in your back foot. Feeling how that movement from the ground transmits up through your legs into the centre of your body turning in response. It could turn either way. Most commonly in line with the direction that your feet are pointing. If you're turning the other way, don't force a change, but it might be that there's some tightness in your hips or somewhere in your back, knees, that is causing a resistance that encourages your body to move in a different way. For the moment, don't try and change that. This is very much just the start of the session. The movement is governed from the ground always in Tai Chi, so bringing your attention down into the soles of your feet and that contact with the ground beneath you. This is something that we want to try and sustain all through the movements. And then with the other foot forwards, same thing. When we move from the ground, we're more likely to maintain a consistent posture, a consistent connection through our bodies. But since we quite often don't do that, it does require a very specific choice, a very specific intention to try and maintain that. It's very easy to lose that, very common to lose that. So coming back to the parallel stance and just beginning to ease your weight forwards and backwards in your feet. So when we do this, come forwards a little bit so you can see more clearly. See, the pivot point is my ankles, my weight moving in my feet. And what we often find is we go to do this and we stumble. And when we do that, we're probably going to stiffen up. So just moderate the movement a little bit, roughly between the balls of your feet and your heels. And trying to get a sense for the alignment of your body. If I use this pole as a visual example, you see it goes down roughly to where the ball of my foot is. And when I go forwards, I try and stay in line with that pole. I don't want to do this or this. Just gentle swaying movement. Imagine you're in water, you'll feel a slight sense of resistance in the air around you, and maybe a subtle sense of changing in between the front and back of your body, giving you a sense of movement, not just externally, but within your body. And what we're looking for here is some kind of balance point, some kind of point of of equilibrium. So again, if I show you with the pole, you could imagine it would be difficult, but if I could somehow line this up very precisely, then I could just let go and that wouldn't happen. Of course, that's the theory. If you could imagine, I put some guy ropes down, like the kind of thing you would find on tents, then that would help. Between the pole and the guy ropes, I could probably get it to stay there. And in this way, if you imagine that line going through your body, alternatively imagine your skeleton, and associated with that the various muscles and tendons and ligaments, you can see how we can begin to find an alignment with the pull of gravity that allows us to just settle, allows our weight to drop down, and a position where we're not straining constantly against gravity. Your head just resting nicely on top of your shoulders. In practice, what we're looking for, what we're moving towards, is to have our weight a little bit forwards in our feet and to let the hips drop back. Never force the posture, and particularly newer people realise that this is an ongoing process. And those of you with more experience, you may have an idea about where that point ought to be, but it's not necessarily going to be straightforward to get in there. We cultivate these postures, and so the correct posture in theory might not be appropriate for you at this point in time, because your body does need to condition and change to do that. So having established that as an idea, try and keep it in your mind, and not, as I say, not forcing things, but as a sort of long-term goal. So from that position, wherever it happens to be, let your hips drop back a little bit more. And then at a certain point, just feeling your hips pushing you up, body expanding a little bit. That top position still has a slight curve in your knees. And then you drop down and you'll feel it get stronger in your legs until, like being in water and dropping down in water, you get pushed up a little bit. And at the top, it's gravity that takes over and pulls you down. So we have this cycle of movement coming up through the body, down again, and again. This is related to that underlying pulse that I mentioned, that sense of the energy beginning to flow, giving a kind of pace and a rhythm, a pulse that really underpins all of the other movements in the body. Just be careful again of your knees, arms at your sides at the moment. Notice if there's a temptation to stiffen up, to tighten up in your arms and hands. You may find again that your breathing just naturally harmonises with the movement. But even so, what you might find is every now and then you need to take a longer breath or an extra breath, and that's fine. Not everybody's comfortable focusing on their breathing, so if that doesn't work for you, there's plenty of other things going on in the body to focus your attention on. And then just letting your hands come around as though you're cradling a ball. And this time, as you push up, let your elbows be pushed up and draws your hands up. Turn your hands over as though they're resting on the ball. Let your hips drop and the ball follows. So we feel the movement building from feet to our hips, up to our back, to our arms, and then the hips dropping down again, drawing the arms down. This is the exercise rooting down. Main focus here is to allow our centre of gravity to drop. This gives us a stronger sense of stability, and again helps to release some of the tightness in the upper part of our bodies. It's also, as we're discovering, a cycle of movement that is really one of the key energetic cycles in these arts, the sense of moving from the ground, the rhythm pervading the whole of the body. And finally, because there's a conscious, deliberate intention here, the overall effect is to just encourage our thoughts to settle more effectively in our feet, to ground our attention. And this helps to generate a sense of stillness, quietness, calmness, that isn't separate from the movement, but is an integral part of it. If an image that we use doesn't resonate for you, don't feel that you failed. The imagery, remember, is there to help to build your experience of the movements. So if an image doesn't work, it just happens to be the right image for you, that's fine. Notice any areas of your body where you feel there's a kind of resistance to the movement. Just try and imagine what it would feel like if that area opened up and you could begin to feel the flow working through there. And it can be interesting to see how our bodies respond to imagery. If you've done this before, memory can be an important factor in that. Recalling previous times of practice. And then doing one more of these. Letting your hands drop down, turning your fingers out. This time let the expansion push your arms away from your body. Don't try and lift your arms, they'll swing up quite naturally. This is the exercise, the wild goose. Try not to stiffen up in your arms. So maybe the image of the bird in flight offers some kind of quality. Once again, for an image to work for you, it has to be the right image. We use a variety of them in Tai Chi, and this is one of the ways in which we bring the three elements, three aspects of body, mind and energy into one movement, one unit. But don't get so caught up in the images that they become a distraction. This time, your hands drop all the way down, the arms feeling quite heavy as they cross in front of your belly, your elbows leading, drawing your fingers around in a smooth circle, and then let your hips drop down. It's called parting the clouds. So this lovely image of a kind of opening up, the sun coming out from behind the clouds, an expansive feeling, may be useful to you. One more time. And then this time sinking down, feeling the weight of your body flow down through your hips, the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders, and focusing on one side. Again, expanding, pushing up, wind your arm around as though you're plucking something from a tree. Sinking down, feeling the weight of your arm, weight of your body, and then pushing up and focusing on the other side. This is dragon plucks the stars from the sky. And then down. Particularly people with a little bit more experience See if you notice the moments when we could suggest that perhaps we go beyond the imagery. There's a direct experience of these three treasures of Tai Chi, body, mind and energy, working as one unit. It doesn't mean it's wrong to use the imagery. Those moments of awareness tend to pass quite quickly, but note them all the same. Remember that what's moving your body fundamentally is your legs, so still sinking down and pushing up. One more time on each side. And then just standing for a moment. So as I implied earlier, the postures that we take in Tai Chi begin to create a certain amount of space or allow for a certain amount of space in our bodies, and it's within that space that the movement takes place. Again, whether we're talking about big movements of joints and muscles, slightly more subtle, what we might call the metabolic movements, breathing, circulation, digestion and so on, and underlying those in like the kind of rhythm section of a band or something like that, kind of joining all of those movements in a way, governing all those movements, is this subtle sense of the flow of the energy. And a principal part of that in Tai Chi and Qigong is this dynamic quality between gravity pulling us down into the ground and our bodies, our legs and feet in particular, responding to that with this sense of compression and release. Again, like when you drop into water, you drop down and then the buoyancy of the water supports you. Sometimes you can find a kind of midpoint, a balance point between them. So an awareness of posture is very important. We can use as many images as we like, but it doesn't make us immune to physics, to pull of gravity. So we need to consider various things here. It's really important to understand the influence of our minds, of awareness, of intention. But it's not all about the mind. It's not all in the mind by any means, because we also need to think about changing postures that we're looking for. For the next two exercises, we don't go down into a deep posture, but we do try and maintain this higher posture, waist a little bit forwards, letting your hips drop back. And this helps to open up particularly the center part of the body and provides a passageway for gravity downwards and that rising energy from the ground upwards. So again, like being in water and floating in water, you find that sense of equilibrium between the two directions. And this means that the movement is still taking place within the body. You may notice aspects of that, but it's very subtle. So it's a matter of training our attention to begin to notice these little changes and these little movements within the body. So we use this posture for the next two movements, bringing your hands around and just lightly touching the side of your hips, the side of your center with the inside of your arm. From there, lengthening through your back and spine, pushing your arms up towards the ceiling. Imagine you're standing below a low ceiling and you're just pushing your arms in, the palms of your hands into the ceiling, keeping your hands in front of your body. Don't pull them back. Let them drop down, come back to the starting point, hands just coming to rest. And in that moment when they come to rest, give yourself the space just to reset your posture. And then pushing your hands out to your sides. And this time imagining there's a wall there or something you can push against. Again, your hands slightly in front of your body, don't pull them behind the shoulder. And returning, lightly touching side of your hips. Give yourself a moment to reset mind and body, and then first movement again, pushing up. As we become more familiar with the postures and the qualities of mind, that process of resetting becomes smoother, more quick. It doesn't take a moment, or it doesn't take longer than a moment, a second maybe, immeasurable amount of time. There's a very good chance that in the process of moving, we lose some of the qualities of the posture, and it's almost a given, I think, that our minds will get distracted. So we're just reminded of that quality of stillness, those qualities of the posture. It's not a very detailed thing, it's a more intuitive sense of this, but it does help to reset a little bit. This time, having brought your hands and your attention back to your centre and the ground, as you push out, turning in the centre of your body, and coming back, taking that moment here, try not to rush, and then turn the other way, and back, and then facing forwards and push out to the sides, and back. It's called pushing in 4 directions. Again, we can use various images. One of the most common is this one of moving through water, so that we imagine a sense of resistance in the movement that our bodies respond to. We use water because when we move in water, we're more inclined to release tightness in muscles and joints, which is what we're trying to do in Tai Chi. So it's a very particular style of movement. But if that image doesn't appeal to you, one that I sometimes use for this exercise, and in particular for the sideways pushes, is that there's a large elastic band between my hands, and as I turn and push out, I'm extending that elastic band, and then turning back to the front, letting it slowly contract. And then the other way, and back. Both of those images encourage the body to work a little bit harder, and there's a very subtle process of conditioning that takes place, not just of the big mobilizing muscles, skeletal muscle, tendon, ligament. We tend to activate some of the fascial layers in the body, and it can even have an effect on the flow of that energy, making it a little bit more dense, a little bit more resilient. Not forgetting that moment of resetting. Some of the old writings in Tai Chi use this lovely phrase: it urges to seek the stillness within the movement. It's a quality that is easily lost in the process of movement, so it's useful to have these reference points where we just return to it. Most likely at the end of the contracting stages, but for those of you a little bit more experienced in Tai Chi, there are other places where you might begin to notice that as well, in particular at the end of the expanding stages as well. Ideally, of course, we would never lose it, but in practice we know that we're going to. One more time, this set. Beginning to appreciate the significance of the centre part of your body, how it guides our arms, how it's the part of the body that draws our attention inwards and downwards, and how it's the part of the body that settles towards the ground. Letting your hands drop and then pushing out. On one side again, arms slightly bent so your arm curves up, palm of your hand facing out and up, straight down in front of your nose, in front of your sternum, in front of your knee. Your arm hang for a moment and then repeat. It's called circling palms. Again, try not to think in terms of lifting your arm, but rather feeling that upward movement, that upward energy pushes your arm out from your body. And then this time, add in the turn. So that draws your arm across just a little bit. Remember always that feeling of space within the body, and let that be a guide to how far you're moving. The idea is to not constrict that space. So caught in feeling that you could have moved perhaps a little bit further. And then on the other side, you'll find over a period of time that your range of movement will increase almost by a process, almost as though the movement is eroding, dissolving the tightness. Be patient with that. Once again, don't force anything. And then once again, add in the turn. One more time. Give your legs a little bit of a shake. So far, everything we've done has been in an upright stance, and one of the key things that helps us to maintain that upright stance is to recognise the significance of our hips. Remember when we found that point of equilibrium, point of balance, we try and let the hips drop back. So when my hips drop back, notice what happens in my head and my shoulders. So we try and avoid this common habit of trying to strain upwards. All that does is puts us into conflict with the pull of gravity. What we're trying to do is to maintain a sense of harmony with the pull of gravity. This, I think, is one of the key points in the Tai Chi posture. But for the next two movements, we're going to change that. If you very carefully, very gently, and I'll do this quite big so you can see what I'm doing, but it's not a suggestion you should go this far. Keeping your knees soft, push your hips back and your pelvis tilts and the whole of your upper body tilts forwards. And then letting gravity pull on your hips to bring yourself to the upright. This is not a back bend. I'm not leaning forwards because then my centre of gravity goes forwards. Pushing my hips back keeps my centre of gravity over my legs. I'll show you again with this pole, this imaginary centre line of the body here. I've more or less got that line with the pull of gravity. If I simply do this, I then start to stumble forwards. If I push my hips back, you'll see my hips are back there, my head is now in front. Alternatively, I could do it like this. I could keep the pole off the ground, and as I tilt forwards, you can see that line between my shoulders and my hips stays fairly straight. And I say fairly straight because there are no straight lines in the body. Don't hold yourself rigid, just feel those connections. We're going to use this in the next two exercises. Start by sinking down and pushing your hips back. Now again, I'm doing this quite big so you can see what I'm doing. This is a strong movement on your back, even though your center of gravity is still in your legs. So remember that feeling of space, and that may mean that you're in quite a high stance. That's fine. Letting your hips drop down, feeling the pelvis, the center of your body realign itself, and then pushing up. And then again, this time we're going to bring our arms into the movement. As you push up, your arms are pushed out a little bit, and then as you go down again and your hips go back, your arms swing forwards. It's called rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. And just feeling there's a gentle extension from the tail of your spine right up to your shoulders and out to your fingers, but not rigid, not tight. So again, it could be quite a small movement, that's fine. Just be careful of your knees and your back, however far you're moving. And really again, sensing the significance of that central part of your body, how it is so influential on both your physical structure and your movement. It's sometimes referred to as the lower dantian, lower energy center, if you like. Think of it like that, and it's very important in all aspects of the movement that we make. One more time with this. As you come up this time, leave your hands palm down until they arrive in front of your belly, and turn, and then push your hips back, sliding your hands forward, swing across, let your hips drop down, turn back to the front. This is called polishing the table. Turn and back. From the back, so you can see what my hips are doing. Again, this is exaggerated. Nice and easy and gently. Sometimes the smaller movements can be the most interesting and useful. One more time. And stand. So we develop a very strong focus of attention into this central area of the body, sometimes described as being like the hub of a wheel. So it's central to the movements, and as we've already noted, it's that part of the body that's going to drop towards the ground and becomes the kind of location of the quiet, still place that our mind rests. And we find that our ability to do this with practice will improve, which means that we can begin to carry this with us into our daily lives. And I do think this is one of the great benefits of the art, that we sort of carry our own quiet place with us, if you like to think of it like that. So when we talk about being centered, talk about being grounded in Tai Chi, these are not abstract statements, they're not metaphors, they're felt experiences. And with practice, you'll find that they become more consistent. So don't get too carried away with what's happening in the upper body and the arms. So I'm going to change the stance and go back to the forward stance. As you stand, imagine parallel lines running across the floor. We refer to them as tram lines. Again, turn one foot out, step forwards on that line with the other foot, so you keep the width of your step and about the same in length. Front foot points forwards, the back foot you can play around with the angle a little bit till it's comfortable. And once again, just begin to transfer your weight. This time, going slowly and taking a moment to settle and to reset each time your weight lands in one foot, because again, there's a very good chance that in the transition from one leg to another, we have lost some of the posture, very good chance that we've been distracted in some way or another. So we just remind ourselves of these qualities of stillness and alignment. We draw on the memory of them. So it doesn't take anything more than a split second to make some degree of recovery. In those moments, we also begin to experience possibly this greater sense of compression in the legs, and then we feel the expansion, movement arising, and we direct that movement through the centre of the body into the other leg. So those moments of resetting aren't just nice for us, which is important, but they're also essential for really beginning to appreciate where the movement, where the energy comes from. Imagine doing this in water, and you'll feel the pressure of the water against the front of your body as you go forwards, against the back of your body as you go back. And that can become an internalized movement, almost like a wave flowing forwards and backwards. So again, just becoming aware of very subtle changes, small movements within your body. And these small changes, these small movements, are ones where we're far more likely to feel that we can bring some kind of intentionality to that. So the small movements become like the building blocks of a wall, with the bricks of a wall. And so there's a gradual shift from outside in, because we start off copying the movements, of course, and feel what's happening within the body, to inside out. We recognize the sensations in the middle, and we build the wall. We build the larger movements. So this is an essential movement in Tai Chi. It shows us how we can begin to take these ideas of posture, movement, into something much more akin to our daily activities and daily walking. Now this time, as you come into your back foot, carefully raise the front toes and then go forwards, push your back knee in so your heel comes up. So what's happening here is a little bit more of the weight goes into one leg. It builds slowly. Just be careful again of your knees. Don't strain, don't tighten in your knees. Allowing your weight to drop. More and more of your weight flowing down through the leg, and more likely that your upper body aligns with the supporting leg. And this is where we start to feel the stability of the movement. Those qualities that we began to become aware of over two legs, we're now looking to find over one leg, which is obviously a little bit more difficult, but it's certainly possible. Notice whether you're sort of tight, stiffening up in the upper part of your body. Just loosen that, and this time, when you go into your front foot, draw your back foot in, push back, put the ball of the foot down, lower the heel, gently push into the floor, plant the foot, and move the weight. And notice that I now have my front foot a little bit turned out. Not everybody needs to do that, but quite often we find that by opening the front foot, we open the hip and more of the weight goes down. Bring the front foot in, step out, put the heel down, lower the ball of the foot, plant the foot, move in. Just don't make that too wide an angle. We're still basically moving forwards and backwards, so you don't want it right out there. Remember that when we did the previous two exercises, allowing our hips to drop helps us to come upright without straining. It's also, of course, essential for our rooting down and our stability. So again, keeping a strong sense of focus in that middle part of your body. And then on the other side, so try not to hold yourself up simply by main strength. So feet hip width apart and beginning to transfer weight. I'm not suggesting that we're not using all the muscles of the body, clearly we are, but the muscle tone of all the soft flesh that we look for is a supple elasticity, not a rock hardness. And that suppleness, that elasticity helps to maintain the flow of the energy through the body. Where there's a stiffness, where there's a tightness, we quite often experience some kind of blockage. So at the moment, when you go forwards, maybe 60% of your weight. When you go back, 70% of your weight in the leg. But as we begin to raise toes and heel, that increases. Notice whether you have a habit of leaning. So this is just a movement with our feet. We don't need to do anything with our shoulders, but we can often find that we're doing this. And of course, this brings our centre of gravity forwards. Or we're doing this, and my centre of gravity goes back. So remind yourself of how it feels when your body's in line, shoulders in line with your hips, hips dropping back. And then stepping in, step back, plant the foot. Forwards. Notice whether again you're stiffening, tightening in the upper part of your body. Step through. So you go forwards or backwards depending on where you have room, but maintaining the width of that step. And now change direction. This is again a very valuable practice. This is a shorter step than our everyday stepping as a rule, giving us a chance to just explore how we can maintain that alignment with the pull of gravity without having to strain. And this can have a significant impact on our everyday activities, once again walking and so on. Now, without losing that awareness of the lower part of the body, 2 exercises which bring the upper body back into the movement. Have your right foot forward, so mirror my movements, hands at your sides. Pushing forwards, but leaving your hands behind. So if you're in water, the pressure of the water would do that for you. As you arrive in the front foot, just let your arms swing through a little bit. Notice how they curve up and then back. This is called fisherman cast net. I mentioned earlier that wave-like feelings through the body, forwards and backwards. And now it's as though it just flows out through our arms and our fingers. Very soft in the shoulders. You feel as though your shoulders are being very gently massaged by the movement, not strained by it. Try not to stiffen in your elbows, your wrists, your fingers. And just seeing if you can focus a little bit on those internal patterns of movement or expansion and contraction. The fundamental pulse, the rhythm coming from the ground. This time, When you arrive in your front foot, turn a little bit to your left, so that swings your arms out, letting them drop down as you move your weight, as they would do before, and then turn in the other way. This is called wind blows the willows. Not straining in your back or your shoulders. Careful not to overextend your arms. Good. Now change sides. So starting off with fisherman castanet. Let your body, the movement of your weight, move your arms for you. It's very simple and straightforward. Bringing your attention predominantly, once again, to the centre of your body, and from there down into the ground. Maybe using an image like moving through water once again. Fisherman cast a net, and this time changing to wind blows the willows, going forwards and turning. Now we can begin to combine this with the stepping that we did, and again go forwards or backwards, obviously, depending on where you have to go. I'm going to go forward, so I turn my front foot out. I go into my front foot, and as I turn, push my back knee in, raising the back heel, and that brings my foot in. I can then step forwards, plant the foot, as I lower my hands, moving forwards, same thing. Hips dropping back, feeling the alignment of your body. And this time, if it's comfortable for you, and don't do it if it's not, bring the foot in, maybe just raising the leg. This is dragonfly skims the water. It's not vital to raise your leg. I'm going to change direction now before I bump into the camera. So dragonfly skims the water. And then bring the feet back. Shake. Finally, I've mentioned this idea of resetting, coming back to a posture that feels more aligned, to a calmness, a quietness of the mind. These two are very linked up, a settled feeling, a quieter feeling. And these are all qualities that are really at the heart of the practice of Tai Chi and Qigong. And they're all qualities that I feel are really important to us in our lives, perhaps more important than being able to do sort of fancy movements or whatever. So this resetting process is a good habit to develop, and the last exercise really emphasizes that as kind of closing down exercise from the parallel stance. Let your hips sink down again. This is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. Push up, arms coming out. You come around as though holding the ball against your chest. Feeling the pull of gravity on your hips already, drawing your hands in and then sinking down. Return into the mountain. And it can be useful just to use this exercise to reflect on what works for you, what brings you back to the mountain. And this is something that might be useful to you later in the day, perhaps when things get a little bit hectic for you. So you need to just touch that quality of the mountain, that quality of stillness. What would work best for you? One more time. And stand. Give your legs a shake. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope that was good for you. And do feel free to get in contact with any questions or comments. Bye for now.